Hey, welcome investors and traders to today's episode of Unusual Option Activity brought to you by the Market Action app. Today is May 27th, at least here on the West Coast. And for those who are not familiar, Unusual Option Activity is buying and selling of option contracts that are outside the normal everyday's trading range. We have our app, the Market Action app, which tracks these trades and highlights such unusual option activity. So without further ado, let's jump in. Here's a quick disclaimer. This presentation is for educational purposes only, and this is not investment advice. So before we jump in, let's look at a quick market index update because we had some wild moves last Friday. So market was in a bit of a downtrend after retail earnings from Walmart and Target, and it really broke down Friday after the open. It was moving pretty rapidly to the downside. And something really happened right here at this price level. A bunch of factors happened. Actually, there was some news, as well as this price level was somewhat attractive. A lot of people were watching it. And this was a bit of a short squeeze buy as well, or a short covering, I may say. So I wouldn't call this a bottom yet, but I would definitely call this a bear market bounce. It's really hard to time bottom, you never know, but it was a very interesting, the point is, it was a very interesting day where price rapidly moved down, came to a very specific price level, and it bounced back up. And it bounced with volume, which we can see in today's future. The futures are green, so that's a good thing. We'll find out how the futures are in the morning again, but that's so far. It's this bounce has a little bit of fuel to it because of the volume that kind of came in during the close. And the reason I mentioned this price level is we're going to look at this in another chart. If you are familiar with Fibonacci extensions, you can see how magically they play at these levels. As you can see, we were in a bit of a downtrend, and these were my fib levels. And as you can see, $381 was a really interesting fib levels. As long as we kind of hit that bounce happened. After the breakdown that we saw over here, after 4 positive days, boom, one day took out all the 3 days, then a bit of a down, and then next day, much down and kind of recovery again. So it's been pretty interesting. You can see all the momentum oscillating indexes. They're also kind of like being oversold for a while now. But this was a pretty interesting candle and something to watch out for. And this is a price level on the fibs that played out perfectly if you know what to look for, when to kind of watch the markets. And hey, this is the price level they should be watching to see what the price action does next. Does it break through and keep continuing the downtrend, or does it consider that as a bit of a net and bounce back? So always learn how to use some charting, and also learn how to use some Fibonacci levels. This will be very useful in your trading. So that was pretty interesting to me, see how that just worked like magic. I'm a big fib believer in fib levels. So let's see a little bit more what happened. So around 11:30 a.m. I don't know if this is Eastern or Pacific. I'm on the West Coast, so it could be Pacific. But around that time, Bullard made some comments about interest rates could be turned back around as early as next year, and that is good news. and that could help the markets, that could help inflation, among other things. So that was good news, and that I think triggered some algorithms, which in return also combined with short covering at the end of the day, and that price level on the fib worked out all together in a bit of a bounce rally that we saw in one day. That was an amazing intraday move to the downside and intraday move to the upside. So pretty interesting. Now, what else do you see in the screenshot is in our Discord we are kind of experimenting with something called our market action algo. This algo is the same algo that we kind of prepared with some modifications, where it kind of tells you the momentum in terms of volume, volatility, moving averages, among other things. And based on that, it gives you a buying and a selling signal. So early in the day, it gives a buy signal around 390.68. Uh, and if you followed that, you were able to kind of, oh, sorry, not a buy signal. I'm in a sell signal at 390.68. If you followed that, it didn't really turn that signal around. So if you kept holding till you get a buy signal, or you kind of take a little bit away from profits, you were able to kind of play the downside all the way. Now I was a little bit weak, so I only made 40% on some of the puts, kind of following that signal, which was nice. But it continued to go lower and lower. You could have easily made 150% until you wait for a flipping signal. So you got a buy signal when that U-shaped turn intraday happened around $385.25, and I think and once again you were able to make some 20 to 40%, even 50% profits if you followed that signal to the upside. And I think the stock market closed at 389, so there's a little $5 move there for you. So it's kind of hard, but you can make money in this market if you're kind of following some type of algorithm. This is something that I follow, or some type of momentum strategy in terms of price momentum to the downside, and when that is invalidated, price momentum to the upside as well. So it was a great day to trade both ways. So another thing, if you want to get access to these, it's generally open to all free users. Please join our Discord and give us feedback, as well as you can trade these signals on your own. From that, we come to our unusual option activity update. Now let's look at some of the past options that we saw. It was covered in our previous videos, and see how they fared. So we discussed, here's the FedEx 180 puts. We discussed, and we had a trigger at around $200. So if it were to, the FedEx was trading at around 201, I think, 203 actually, and we had a trigger set up at around $200. If you did follow that, you were definitely able to make money, because these contracts were trading at $6.65. They traded as high as $8.35, and then we had definitely had that U-shaped recovery where it kind of came back and gave all of those gains. So you have to be pretty quick this Friday to lock in profits on your puts and switch to calls, or just sit out after you made your profits during the reversal. So interesting. So you can see here this contract went from $6 to $8. That's a nice 40%. As you can see, this is the chart that we saw when we found the unusual activity. FedEx was 203 with a trigger around 200. And this is the chart after Friday. So it kind of broke through that level, came all the way down to 195, and then it went back up. So pretty interesting, dude. Right now, it's still a sell signal unless we go above this, and if we see open interest kind of drop on those puts, you should definitely get out, because whoever For in this, they already made their profits, and now all the market rewards they might be getting sitting out. But so far, we still have a sell signal until it kind of goes to buy. They're still biased to the downside. Same with SPY puts. I mean, these were covered in a previous video too. About 1.3 million of these traded, 360 puts, and these traded anywhere from $3 all the way to $6. So once again, 100% price action move in one day. And only 30,000 of these were traded, and 100,000 open interest. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are still holding a lot of the option contracts are still being held. So still biased to the downside. And once again, here's the chart for S&P. We went down, we hit that magic fib level, and it bounced back up. Same thing with the Qs. As you can see, these were alerted around $4. These trade anywhere from $4 all the way to $9.60, so close to a little above 100%. Once again, very little volume of these traded and still a higher open interest, so something to keep in mind. Still biased to the downside until that open interest starts melting away. Once again, this is the chart that we saw. Here's our trigger, 285. Boom, we kind of crossed that, went down, hit that fib level, and bounced again. And this was another one. This was a big boys trade. If you traded these, this were insane. So if you traded any of these option contracts, some of these went crazy. So from $20 to $2,000 turned into $50,000, almost 49. So I'm just gonna call it $50 per contract. So it's $5,000. That was crazy day, one day. Once again, a lot of open interest on these, so something to watch out for. People expect more downside, and this is an intermediate bounce because there's still some time to expiration on some of these. Once again, here's the Tesla chart. We had our trigger kind of pretty far away because this moves like crazy and can move back up, but it breached that, went down, and it bounced along with the market. Now, the good thing to note is that Tesla did not recover the same as S&P did. So it seems like some of the money is flowing out of Tesla into other stocks in the S&P index, such as Apple. Could be a good example. So anyways, let's look at today's unusual option activity. We saw some unusual option activity of call buying in KWEB, which is a China ETF. This is about 50 days to expiration. Pretty big, close to $1 million in premium traded. Something to keep an eye out for. The volume is very close to open interest. So this could be a closing trade and might just be marked false or guessed false as bullish by the algorithm. Something to look out for is to see if this open volume gets added to the open interest or deducted from the open interest where the open interest moves. So if that moves in the right direction tomorrow, that could be like, hey, somebody is doubling down on this China ETF, and there could be something coming up that we don't know about. So for the futures and the current China markets are not trading so well. So in that case, these are, let's see, what strike were these? These were about $38 and $31. So we're kind of ways away from that. $31 is right here. So you can actually, you don't have to enter it right away. You can actually wait for it to kind of change momentum. Another level would be to look for it like break of 27.73. If it goes above that, might be a good way to enter, where it kind of changes the direction it's going in. Or if you want to be extra safe, another level we look at is $28.47. And once that's broken, you could see some more movement up where we kind of start finding more buyers for this stock. and having the price action move higher and higher. And I think one of them is actually even less than, let me go back. Oh, here you go. Yeah, so this one is actually less than $1, so you can even consider this as the dollar contract of the day. Less than $1 contract of the day, of the episode. So here's another one that we saw, Macy's. This has earnings coming up this week. We saw volume clearly exceeding open interest. These were bought close to midday, around $1, close to 1 million in premium traded. These even traded as high as $1.60, and it closed around $1.11. So something to keep in mind. Pretty interesting to see why a bullish trade to see on a consumer name based on how things were trading. There are a few consumer names that reported that actually had some upside. So this one is kind of saying, hey, Macy's could go back up before earnings, or even have amazing earnings to kind of blow past it. So something to watch out for. So here's the chart for Macy's. It kind of did the same U-turn, and it does actually have a gap on the top because of Walmart and Target earnings. That kind of took the whole category down. So this one is kind of bounced around here at this price level, and it's currently trading below it. There's a bit of role reversal that is in play, so support becomes resistance. So right now, a good way to kind of enter these would be that when this level is broken and becomes support again, for the stock to continue to move up and kind of somewhat try to close that gap, would be interesting by the time we reach earnings, or maybe just kind of swiggles, goes over, and could become an earnings play where it really moves up. So something to be watching out for. I kind of like Macy's at this price. It seems like it's a bit too oversold. And drum roll again. Here's $1 unusual option activity of the day. As a disclaimer, the $1 standard option contract does control 100 shares, so you actually need 100 in buying power to buy a $1 option contract. Don't ask me why it is, that's just the way it is. And the reason we have this section is for those who are new to trading unusual option activity, or just looking to kind of get started. They can get started as little as $100 in buying power to kind of test unusual option activity with very little risk and high reward to the upside. Once again, always trade responsibly, even if you're new or old. New or experienced doing this. Old might not be the right word. So here we have some unusual option activity. We're getting some really out the money puts about 26 days out on XLE in the energy. Somebody is buying close to 5,000 of these were purchased for close to $250,000. Volume clearly exceeding open interest, so that's very interesting to see. Not sure what the matter is, if energy prices are going to just, inflation is just going to go away, or the war is just going to end in the next 26 days, which would be amazing in Russia, and things are just going to be all plumb. But this is an interesting option, which is really cheap, close to 30 cents, 49 cents, so close to like $40 per contract. Looking at the chart, we do have some sell signal, and the stock is kind of just like hovering here. So for the 67 puts, we actually have a trigger right here. We don't want to enter this too late, then the option will be too expensive and won't be $1. But we're just kind of targeting this last hourly candle. So if we go below that, and if we close below that, it'll be a good place to kind of enter these puts to the downside if this were to continue falling down. We do see some green volume here. Our algo is still bearish, which is a good thing, and always helpful in kind of trading some of this unusual option activity. It's a good indicator. So we are definitely bearish. We might see if this bounce kind of goes above. If it were to go above this price level, definitely this unusual option activity will become invalid for the short term, because it will start decaying that option value. And since it's so far out the money, but it is still an interesting one. I don't really look at gaps on ETFs much because they're not very relevant, but we do have some gaps on the downside that we can try to come back and test. And even this price level right here, once this is broken, I think we will see enormous selling like we did see over here. So once this level gets broken, it's already been twisted twice. It's kind of bounced, but we haven't been making a very higher high. We just made a lower low. So if we break above this, then hey, I would rather buy calls than puts. But if we don't, so if you enter it here, your stop loss should be somewhere around at this price level, around 83 something. So anyways, that's the dollar unusual option activity of the day. Once again, thank you for watching. Please visit the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store and download our Market Action app. It's currently free to sign up for a trial. And make sure you use the keyword Market Action without spaces. You can also visit marketaction.live to sign up for a risk-free trial. With our subscription, you actually get the desktop app as well as the mobile app. And you can also visit marketaction.live to learn more about the algo and subscribe to it. Once again, thank you for watching. Please click subscribe and any notifications, and I apologize for the late video today. It was just one of those days where you try to get to something and something or the other comes up, and which made me, I had the video ready, but I wasn't just able to record it and publish it. So apologies for that. I'm going to try to make it better, but hey, it's the weekend, so no biggie. Anyways, see you guys in the next video, and please trade responsibly.